No. Good morning, everyone. We're starting a new avatar. I don't have it open this second. I was already working on it for a little bit this morning, off camera, because I was being a little lazy. But we're gonna start with making an object. This will be selection to edge curve. So what we'll do is we'll take a plane, we'll subdivide it. Boom. And we'll paint an attribute on here. And in our geo node, make a new, copy this, paste, and we'll paste it there. So delete geometry. That is, can I just, yeah, just put the selection there. Grab group. We want not that group, like that. And then delete again, but this time our edges, and we'll do edge neighbor plus or greater than. So, and now let's save this as an asset. Selection to edge curve. So this way we can do on our object, this one, boom. Use our selection, hip. So now we have this hip profile. Beautiful. Attach this to it. I did not make it a curve. So back to here, mesh to curve. There we go. Interesting. Here. Curve modifier. Doesn't really matter. Much better. But I did rotate these two earlier. So now if I undo it, we get some better results. This has more geometry than I would expect it to. We initially bring in the torso. We delete this section, and then we added this reverse curve. But it's really not fitting this curve very nicely. We duplicate it and mesh it. Not work. Duplicate, mesh. Interesting. Doesn't want to do that. So this is to start building our character. Not lining up exactly though. So we'll make our own mask. Do. Actually, do I have any masks? Masks. Nope. So we'll call this mask geometry. Actually, delete selection. Yeah, delete selection. That'll be perfect. So then we can just do delete geometry. Have that already, do I? Delete geometry via attribute. Okay, that's what I want. Attribute is profile hit. We'd like to just do faces. 0, 1. Makes me want to flip it again, but that's okay. It's still not lining up exactly. So that's an issue with our loft profile, or perhaps the profile here. Go to stats. Interesting. Should be exact. Why wouldn't it be? Because we delete, we're just left with a 4 points. Oh, uh, hmm. Okay. What we'll need to do is actually basically trim it. Let's set it to cyclic. So, a second ago. See, the factor is kind of messed up. go back to GeoNode. Trim curve by segment, something like that. So let's say we have a curve, set it to 1, and so we have segments. This, and we'll say delete trim curve by segment. So we can take the curve to mesh, like so. And then we can delete geometry. We'll delete edges based on the factor if this is less than or greater than this. And then we should also have the option to switch and invert it if we want to. And then we just turn it back to a curve. That. Less than 0, greater than 1. That way we start the appropriate spot. Like so. So say less than, greater than, then invert. Okay. Boom, and then invert. Perfect. So that's by segment. Fingers crossed. All right. So and then we can add a cyclic, set spine cyclic, which will be a switch as well. A little silly to do this, but I think it will work. I forgot what I called it. Trim curve by segment. That was way worse than before. You can see where it's supposed to be. Profile edge count. I know what it is. Okay. I know what the problem is. It's okay. A new collection. right, hide that one. Let's go back to our loft profiles. And what I want to do is, right now we're resampling, and we actually don't need to do that. So let's go here. Say is switch. I want this on by default. And put that there. Resample profile. Funny. Okay, so there's one more spot where that issue persists. Ba, 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 ba. And I actually think, now that I'm thinking about it again, I would prefer that's off. Okay, so we resample here based on the count. Oh, I'm resampling anywhere else. We are trimming though. You need to do that in order to properly UV map it. Okay, well, let's just add this. Move it up. Say resample. Oh. Evaluated seems correct, but now just not properly reading the knee. Goofy. Very goofy. We can see it filling it too. So that would be a resampling issue of the factor of the other profile. And just that one's having an issue? Oh, I do have, no, that didn't fix it, but I have some scaling issues. Let's just take them all. Control S. Nope, not quite. Hmm. Well, another mystery. Very consistently offset. This corner matches, but that one doesn't. If I simply made a second object, we don't get any sampling issues. Okay, so the issue is not my lofting, it is this object. Now, that one doesn't do anything. The reverse curve doesn't do anything. Selection to edge curve. Reverse curve. You need the reverse, but the reverse doesn't do anything either. Maybe set spline type? Um, Mul Ram. Ollie. Bezier. Strange. Ugh. Quite strange. Why is that? Maybe I should trim them here too. But that's just so fucking strange. So I duplicate this, we use this one instead, then it does fit perfectly. Maybe if I change that. Ah, okay, I see. So the issue is if it's not a perfectly... Okay, so we have to translate the factor between the different profiles. And that would simply be taking the length. Yeah, we're just mapping the range. Okay, super easy. So we don't need a trim, but what we do need is the length here. Because we're capturing it from this one. We go, hey, this is where we are on this one. You can't really normalize a factor. It's a 0 to 1 range. Because if we scale our profile, so one profile will be evenly split. But if I scale one profile, then it'll be something like this, where the edges are really spaced out on the sides. We have these really long lengths here. Or maybe it's closer to this edge. Either way, it gets skewed. So we don't really want to use factor. No factor. What we would want to do instead is by index. Hmm. And that's only if we resample too. So sorry, if we don't resample. So factor for no resam or factor for resampling, no factor otherwise, because then we would just want to evaluate it by the amount of points we have on it. But then there's a difference in points, so we can't really do that. We would just have to ensure that the curve itself only has a certain amount of points, so that they'd have matching points. Yeah, loft by sampling index instead of evaluating or resampling. And that is a little tough. But it might be time for me to go get some food. Alternatively, no, I don't want this to be the case, but I could try to. Yep. If we took the hip and we squared it, technically we wouldn't choose here. That's not a real solution. Getting there. Getting there. The goal with this is a purely procedural avatar workflow. And do is actually start on our next object, is our profile hip. We can duplicate that. This one will be profile folder. And we'll take this, select here, and make a shoulder. Sign. Copy. Just gonna replace this one. So I only want it to worry about that one. Any other group, just this one. Now, attach. And you can see we're starting to stack up more and more of these pieces. Be very useful. So we can start moving things around. Beautiful. Okay. It's going to be a very interesting challenge. Okay, let's just think about our GeoNode really quick. So how are we getting the position? We are sampling the factor right here, and then we're using this position. That's the main deal. But I think we will. This is the spline index. I think I just want normal index. We can sample that. Honestly, I feel like I should be stacking things like this more often. They become these very vertical little pillars. It's like this is all just doing one thing. So keeping it like that feels a little nicer sometimes. Okay, so we're feeding the factor into both of these. And this is what we'll call factor sampling. Boom. Vector sampling. Let's see. We have the curve index, we have the length. I think we would just want to do sample index. And we would want to get the vector, the position, both geometries. Start with this first one. Okay, so factor sampling can go over here. And we'll just put this together. It's kind of hard to track. Okay. So this is the first curve, curve A. Taking that curve on the index of the point, this is our position. And we'll actually just feed in index. Like that. First one. And wow, we really should have curve A, curve B. This goes here Also getting the position. So now we have these two values. I'm going to unpin this one. No, that is setting the position. Okay. So yeah, we're blending these two positions together with the y factor. So let's duplicate this whole thing. A, B, and then we'll add a switch. This switches for a vector value, our new position. And basically, if we're not resampling, then this is the method we should be using. Because if we're not resampling, that means that we want to use the points as they already are on the profile curve. So if we're resampling profile, then we want this one. Or then we don't want this one. Then this, boom. Okay. And we'll put this in here, in this giant switch. Let's go here. All right, let's see. Relative, relative, curve A, curve B. Should be sampling the position of curve A. And there probably needs to be some sort of comparison here. Sample the curve index. It's not going to get us what we need. Position X. Do I need to do a for each element? Be like for each point. Factor. By this point, it's already a mesh. So we're already looking at a mesh. So I think we actually would need to, well, the sample is sampling exactly. Wait, what? What? It's working now? It wasn't working before? Oh, right. It's still not working. Because if I expand this, then we can see that it is breaking. We don't like that. That's why we're trying to fix it. Boom, 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 boom. Ah, but if we do it per point, we need a trim. You need to trim the curve. Otherwise, we'll never sample. It's a trim curve. A fire. Better. But we're not getting, so curve A seems to be working. Sample this index should be same index. Oh, maybe we'll do a capture attribute for the index and then drop that one here. I feel like we have to do it for each point. So it's all going to 0 right now. Interesting. Actually, we're not getting any like length edge count. Just gets the sample here. Ah, okay. Here's what we'll do. We'll store it first. For a named attribute, 2D vector, we'll call this position, profile A, and B should be stored on points. Okay. And we want to store this one, and then we'll just call them over here, named attribute, vector, profile A, and profile. And it looked like I was doing something cool there. Honestly, it looks like it is doing profile A. It's blending between the two pretty well. That's just because it's 0. I could just move it to whatever I want there. Which means that this is setting the correct position. And we're going to try that capture method one more time where we get the index, and that's what we want to use here. That doesn't seem to work. Well, I don't have a tab. No. Okay, then we will require for each element. So let's close this up. For each point, we get the index. This is how we're going to sample. Boom. And boom. So there's no other way for us to do that. This goes here. This goes here. After we output this, we should get Bezier, control point, position, radius. Ah. So we can't even store these? Okay, then we have to do curve to mesh. We have to store it while it's a mesh. Doesn't seem like there's any other way to do that. Really doesn't want to store anything on these control points. Blender, geometry nodes. Store attribute. Hello, Popstar. Welcome. Here we go. Now it's getting stored. Oh, this is just literally spitting out the geometry. Wow. Okay. Been a while since I had time to get on here. Hello. What's up? You said you're going to be replacing Adobe products with what are you replacing them with? I'm going to go eventually try to go all Blender. I'm doing quite well, Popstar. Thanks for asking. We're trying a different approach to making a mesh. If it doesn't go super well today, then I'll probably not follow it too far. Try to find time to work on stuff and reorganize my files, but Christmas is hectic. I feel you there. I feel you there. Always busy. I'll show you the avatar as it currently stands. We're going to load them up. I guess I could sample nearest here. Sample the index. Let's do sample. index and arrows, sample arrow sort. Thought there was a better way to do that. Okay. For Substance Designer as well. That would be my hope. There's a few good well, Substance Painter I would replace with Yuku Paint, if you're familiar with that one. And um, yeah, Yuku Paint. That's a great one. IOR is it another? That's all in. It's a Blender add-on. Oh, this is not working very well here. I think we need a repeat instead of for each element. So let's get rid of this side. I'm going to do it from scratch because I'm crazy. I want this here. Thanks, autocorrect. That's just how it goes sometimes. Yeah, here's the avatar we've been working on. Trying to find time to work on stuff, but I keep getting pulled left and right. It's tough. It's really tough. There's never a feeling like there's enough time in the day. Okay, here's our latest avatar. Just waiting on the client to test, and then we'll be making that VTuber version. Bit of a I must not have triangulated it. I like him. Thank you. So what we'll do is we'll sample per index, store those values like so. Still don't see them getting stored. We're doing a 2D vector. Oh, sorry, should be actually be a full vector on each point. The iteration would be however many points there are. So we'll do stat, and we'll do index, and we'll add 1, right? Yeah, and drop that there. So that's how many times we're going through it, because that's how many points we have. They're just domain size now. Okay, yeah, that's a lot easier. So should be the point count like that. So it goes through, it should loop through each one, sampling the index. Maybe we don't need a trim. But again, it's still not storing it. I don't know why. Oh, here we go. Okay, sampling not working great. We got our index, we got our iteration. So we should be going through this loop 18 times, sampling each point. But we're doing curve to mesh. Vector point, position. We can clamp it. It's not very helpful. But maybe that's because we're still just doing this. It doesn't want to store per point. It's so fucking annoying. Okay, curve to mesh. Back to that. That's the only way we can do it. Profile A, profile B. I have to find time to get the latest version of Warudo exporter later today after cooking. Hopefully I remember it too. I always try to grab the latest version for it. To check out I was just looking at this the other day. It's a or I was using this the last few days. It's kind of like a faster way. You can just read the info on the website, but it's kind of like a faster way to export and set up avatars. Because usually in the VTuber conversion, you've got to like convert it from a FBX file to a VRM, then to the Warudo version. But that add-on I just linked lets you go straight from the FBX to the VSF Vinion or Warudo version, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I really feel like this should be giving us better results here. Good trim curve as well. Okay, that actually did help. Then maybe a curve to mesh. They're all getting set to basically the same. No, that's not the case, not the same value. Curve A, curve B. Same index. Values getting saved. But it's getting saved to everything. We need to say equal index. Oop, I'm about to crash. I'm going to crash in just 1 second. Is this add-on free? Yeah, it is. I'll grab it later. Still want to keep supporting Pumpkin for a bit, just in case, but I'll certainly grab it if the live replays in the VOD. Honestly, Pumpkin's tool might be a better fit. I am actually going to crash in a second, so. I'm crashing.